they're supposed to protect.
We're going live.
Okay.
We're going live.
Oh, go ahead.
Good evening and welcome to our podcast by Bob and Danielle. We're here to fight CPS and stop taking our children. And we are very caring parents. We've been in a CPS case ourselves, and we're not professional lawyers, but we're here to share our story and to help you all others try to hang on to your children or try to get your children back, because we found that CPS, and this is from personal experience, is very corrupt, very one-sided. They will lie. They will actually traffic your children into foster care. They'll alienate you children from you as parents. And they really don't care about your constitutional or civil rights. And I'm sorry to say that to you, but of all the people, I've talked to over 500 people and from all the 50 states, they have a common thing. They all say their children were taken when there's not a their children were taken because they had to sign a form or they thought everything was fine. There's so much deception and lack of transparency by CPS. It is a money-making machine. $55 billion is made yearly. That's how much they make for trafficking our children. I know those are harsh words, and believe me, I had on the guest. I wish Danielle was around when I had that guest speaker from Maryland. It was quite interesting how she did for 40 minutes try to defend the Maryland CPS. They were really great, the CPS. Yeah, when I mentioned CPS, I mean the CPS system. Every state will have a different acronym.
Have you had people from Maryland before? Like that weren't caseworkers? Okay.
Two others.
So
I've had a total of 3 people from Maryland.
Okay, so it's
2 others from Maryland, and then 3 others from Maryland. One of them was a caseworker. She did not show me she was not a guest on my show, but she did call in, and she proudly displayed her name. And she said that she was a clinical psychiatrist with a college degree, and that all the social workers in Maryland go through a 6-month training program.
Really?
Which was hard for me to believe.
Right.
After what I've heard other parents say. And
did we research that and find out if it was true?
I'm sorry, what?
Was it true? Like, did it say it on the internet or anything? Did you? Because I know, were you finding out anything about that or them about this?
I had not looked her up on the internet. I don't know. Kay thinks that she was a stalker for her.
Oh, great. That's the
problem with this live broadcast. You find us on Facebook, and it's under the title of Fighting CPS, and there's several of us that do that. I'm one of them, Danielle's another, and then there's Vincent Davis and Mrs. G and some of the other players, and you don't know who's in the room. Some people are smart Alex and want to pick on you, thinking that you don't say the right thing or you don't do the right thing. Others are troublemakers. Sometimes they pose, and they're not CPS. So it's sad. You find them in all walks of life.
Right.
But I think most of the people, every person we've had on the show as a guest or a speaker on the show has been very legitimate, and they all focus on their children. Welcome. Belgino Natalie, she's been on before.
You lost your left shoe.
Oh my goodness gracious.
That's not
I hope you can find your left shoe. Badly back. And we're an interactive podcast, which means that you can text a message. It should be about CPS, either your own case or another case or something good, something bad. That's fine. All I ask is your name, city, state, and country. Now, you probably say country. I said, well, I have gotten text messages from people that say they're from countries. And so, yes.
Lost it in a drain. That's not good.
Wow.
Oh, they were stalking. Oh, man.
Yep.
I believe it. Ugh.
Yeah. So, These
I'm sorry.
countries have been so far Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, and Danielle was here when the United Kingdom spoke.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Ghana,
Wales.
which is in above Venezuela. I mean,
Mm.
above Brazil, south of Venezuela, Ghana. And then after Ghana was Mexico. And then after Mexico was Mozambique, which is an African nation near Somalia on the east side of Africa. And then there was Denmark. And that was a lady talking about, and all of them said similar things. We have the same problem in our country with CPS. They're very corrupt. They take our children. What can you do? Some asked questions I was able to answer, and they're going to try to work on it. Now, I'm not authoritative, neither is Danielle, but we are very good researching on the internet. We can look up almost anything. This morning, I looked up a couple things because I had a woman this morning, and it was really hard for her. And it's called Bella Mom. And
She came back.
yeah, she came back a second time.
Is anything moving along?
Not really. She has her case Wednesday, but she thinks she's going to lose it all.
What is Natalia? They called code inspector to stalk me, ask me on DCST. Ask me. What was the last thing you meant, Miss or Natalia? Ask me on.
They called the code inspector to stalk me. Wow. Now
They will.
I know there's codes. There's code violations, but that's not
Like if your home's not up to
the children yet. For instance, they did bring out my home along with 5 firemen, 2 code, 3 social, 2 uniformed policemen, 1 detective, and of course my son and I were at the house, and they were looking for the only thing that code people could find is my gate was loose. The screws need tightening. Also,
gosh.
they thought because my yard wasn't ship shape that it could use a haircut.
That's
I said, well, I had no job and it's hard to take care of. I'm sorry, my yard is not all that specific there. But that's the only violation. They were out there measuring. The fire department was measuring my smoke alarms, make sure they're installed right.
They had a measuring tape when they come out to my house. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
And they also checked to see if your back door had a lock to the swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
There was a gate around the pool. Was it secure? You know, the home that you saw was a beautiful home. I mean, it was something that most people don't have, and I was very fortunate to have it. I had to sell it to get an attorney, and I miss it today. It's really hard. But code will get involved. Code will get involved because what they're doing, just like right now, I'm experiencing something right now where someone is after me with my vehicle registration, and they're calling all the time. And I'm getting lots of tickets. And I was talking to the police chief and the mayor, the supervisor in traffic, and started trying to resolve this. And I got together with the Sacramento DMV finally at the end of the day. And I've worked out a solution where I get a temporary operator permit and have the Gestapo stop what they're doing. They're not rationality. The mayor hasn't got back to me yet, but I will go to the top dog. I mean, I went to Sacramento today to the DMV, and wow, calling at 10 minutes to 5 when they close at 5 o'clock, I got a call back within 1 minute.
Yeah,
I could not believe it. The nicest lady at the DMV in California was so thorough answering my questions. And I finally realized that, hey, you know, there is hope. So I have an old.
You just got to get the right one.
I have an old antiquated car. It's 24 years old. It needs a smog thing they no longer carry. And so I'm going through what's called the Bureau of Automobile Repair. They have a program where they help out people that financially need assistance. They will pay for if it can be repaired, they'll pay for it and they'll help you along. And you can ask the DMV for a temporary operating permit. It's not a moving permit, a one-day moving permit. It's called a temporary. It can be 30 days, 3 months, 6 months. So hopefully I get the
long they put it for. Yeah. So
and that way I can have it displayed, and they can't. They give you a temporary operating permit, which is a permit on there. And
is that to operate the vehicle?
Like the problem is when you put a vehicle on public streets, it's got to have a tag on it.
Right.
Even though you pay the registration, you still got to have a tag. It
Right.
also, excuse me, has to be smogged every other year. And it didn't pass smog the first time. I had a part
Is that the
replaced.
like emissions? We
Yeah,
call
that's
it
the emissions in there.
emissions.
And I think it's a good program, but the problem is when cars get older and they don't have part replacements, it's time for me to
Right.
decide to get rid of my car. It's 24 years old, so I understand that.
Out here, they let you, if it's so old, you get exempt from the emissions. Like if I think it's 19, what was it, 19 something and younger or older, you don't have to have emissions in certain counties. Counties. And then there's some counties that don't even require you to have emissions. Like the county I'm in doesn't require it, but the county next to me does. If it's a 19, I forgot what year it was, or above. So like newer cars would have to have it. It's crazy. Georgia's so sporadic with, I mean, each county is so different out here. I mean, it's not even statewide. It's just each county. Like they run so differently. It's crazy.
Well, I want us to refocus here on CPS. We got to stay with CPS as our subject.
Oh, and I do want to share something with you whenever you're done talking about that's regarding the senators with my CPS case.
Well, I got this girl, I got her that she has to politically get involved. So I told her the people up there, I helped her find a pro bono attorney.
Oh, okay.
And they are out there. And I can't believe I looked at different states now. They're not hard to find. Now, her big city is Sacramento. So that was really good. But I found over 10 low income, like one was $1,800 retainer fee. And it seemed like it worked. Now, I don't know by not calling them what kind of outfit they are, if they're still in business or whatever it is, but
right.
Is there now? Yeah, Natalie is saying something. Natalie, do you want to call in and talk about your case?
Apparently they're on her again. She called in the other day.
Yeah, Natalie, you called the other day. Would you like to talk and update? You have a lot to tell us, and I'd love to have you talk.
She said okay. She said okay.
And she said, good. And yeah, you guys can call in at 626-698-0990. That's my office phone. That gets you there, and I'm good for, an hour in the morning, an hour at night, and but besides texting, you can also call in, and then if you want to be a guest on the show, which I had this morning, you call Grace, my producer. Don't call her, but you send her an email, grace@vincentwdavis.com. Grace@vincentwdavis.com. Go ahead.
You want to hear the reply or the response I got back from John, the senator, U.S.
Sure.
senator?
I just wanted to finish up my
oh no, you're good.
Thing interacting
you can
here.
Go ahead.
And
you can go ahead.
I want to finish with thanking Mr. Vincent W. Davis for producing this podcast, and that if you need help, you can call him at 888-888-6582. He tells me to say that all the time. So call in, say you need help, and he'll try to help you on that. We'll talk more about Vincent Davis. He's one of my number one rules that I have. Go ahead, Danielle.
Okay, so I got a response because the constituent service for John Ossoff, which is a U.S. senator, responded, and because they said that the concern was satisfactorily resolved before. Well, I emailed this constituent back, Kennedy Slay, and now the response I got back, and this is what she said, the Department of Family and Children Services told her. She said, I hope this email finds you well. The constituents' concerns have been reviewed and satisfactorily resolved. Because that's what she's saying. Below, you will find the response from the Division of Family and Children Services. The constituents' concerns have been reviewed and satisfactorily resolved. The constituent was contacted and the concerns were addressed. Due to the case being under court jurisdiction, there will continue to be developments during the court case. I also want to remind you that our office is not allowed to become involved in legal situations, and it is not in our jurisdiction to overturn a decision made by an agency. And then that's when she told me that she'll continue to follow up and inform when the agency provides her with a response. And
I don't think you're asking her for legal help. I thought you were asking her to make a change to the policy.
Right.
Which is far from being legal matters. That's the change in the policy.
And the jurisdiction thing is what was concerning to me, because he's in Texas and they were told to get him back to Georgia and they still fell into do it. But they're going to say that they don't have no no jurisdiction to overturn. Who's saying anything about overturning a decision? I mean, who has the jurisdictions? What now?
Well,
What's
you didn't ask
questioning
to
me?
overturn it. You just asked for some
No.
help to get your child.
Yes, I just wanted to get him back to Georgia like it was supposed to be done. I mean, he should have never
Well,
went to
the
Texas.
politician did what they're good at, politicians, and dance around the issue.
And then what they, I mean, and then I've never been contacted, Bob. That's the other thing. When was I contacted? This is twice now. And then if you go and watch the news about the new findings that this same senator has found, that they have told 200 and something other cases that they were satisfactorily reviewed and resolved. So I'm finding that to be a problem. Like,
well,
same thing
I
I
could
was
very
told.
nicely write back to them and tell them this is what I would do. Is say that you respectfully disagree that it has been resolved. I'm the mother of an X number year old child who was in the system, who had a special needs child. You need to emphasize
now
that.
an adult.
Who was in the system, who's now as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
What I was asking for you is assistance of how to change. I'm not asking you to overturn or do legal matters on this case.
Yeah, this does nothing
That's
to do
up
with
to attorneys, and that's up to the
right.
judge.
And yep.
But I'd still respond to her, and and thank you very much. But I look to you, who are supposed to represent me.
And that's where the bipartisan investigation that they've opened up an investigation, and that's what I'm reaching out to them for. I mean, y'all are, that's what y'all want, and here it is.
Keep on it. The whole key is to keep on it. Now, I thought Natalie was going to call us in. Where are you, Natalie?
And so that's, and then my aunt, I talked to my aunt today, and she still has not got a return call ever since the last phone call about her taking a drug test and doing fingerprints. But we thought that it was all done and ready to go, and he was supposed to be coming back to Georgia. She said she's here. Are you gonna call in, Natalia? But they still have not called my aunt as well. So, I mean, they're just coming up with more and more stuff to. I'm just waiting for the court date, the big day. I mean, I'm not just gonna wait. I'm still gonna pursue this with the senator. But I mean, at least I am getting a response from the senator's office. So that is a hope for other people that reach out to your fellow senators. They are working. They are. I mean, they're showing that they're working for us. So, because I know they got a big full-blown investigation on the Department of Family and Children Services in Georgia. I do know that.
Well, while we're waiting for Natalie to call in, I'd like to go over these rules again. I know I repeat the same ones, but
tell her to make sure to call the 626, not the 1-888.
Yeah,
and
you're calling the 626-698-0990. That'll reach me. If you call the 888-888-6582, that's my office, and you reach the receptionist, and that's usually the number you call to speak to Mr. Davis or have a consultation with him. But I've found that the child protection system in every state will have an upper hand against you as a defendant because they know the rules, they know how to do things. You're not an attorney. And I always say, think of this. If you had to do open heart surgery, would you do it yourself? Would you let your neighbor do it? Would you call an auto mechanic to do it? No, you're going to get yourself a professional doctor.
Oh yeah, somebody that
do it like that. That's why. Here she comes.
She is.
Wind her up there. I assume this is Natalie. Hi, Natalie.
Hey.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Is that you, Natalie?
Hi. Yeah, it's Natalia.
Natalia. I'm sorry. I keep pronouncing it wrong. Natalia. I apologize.
Hello?
Yeah, I hear you fine. I hear you fine. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do, Bob. Yes.
Okay. All right. You were telling a lot of things about your case, and there's so much information. I thought maybe we could talk about it right now.
Right. Okay, so this is like so traumatic for me because like people look at me like I'm like, it's so hard because I've lived with it for like so many years. And the first time they took my child, she was like, they took my two little girls out of the window. The police without a warrant.
Oh, wow.
They just did. It was open.
How'd they get in the house? How'd they get in the house?
I opened the door because somebody called saying that there was like the dog was loose. And I said, no, he's inside. And then they pushed themselves in.
And they had no warrant.
Right.
And on top of that, was the children in any kind of danger? I mean, were they being thrown against the wall?
No, not at the time because I had a neighbor that was with me, and he was an elderly fellow, and he was sitting with them, and I was in the bathroom just basically like in my bathrobe because I took a shower.
Well, where were the children? Where were the children? Where were the children?
They were 2 and 3 at the time.
Where were they? Where were they?
In the house.
Loose or with you or what?
No, there was somebody sitting with them.
They were with me in the house. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But then what was the extreme danger they had to remove your children for?
They made up a story that I left them outside or something.
Well, wait a minute. You see, this is the thing that seems to be really confusing to me, and maybe it's confusing everybody. The word extreme danger means the child is being threatened by physical or neglect. Now, just because you're
Imminent
at
danger.
the moment or, not watching children, that's not extreme danger. That's their definition. Is
because I actually had somebody in the house.
Right.
Yeah.
She did have somebody.
Right.
It wasn't like I didn't leave them alone.
No, the thing is, the children were in extreme danger, and the police and the social workers think they can take children without a court order.
Right.
Or without a warrant, that's what a court order is.
Without a warrant, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So the reason this happened is because I left the other house and then because to basically at the time and then so my brother, I told him to go and lock the other house and then afterwards it was like I was upset with him because he didn't lock it and then so that was happened. But then the people here in the area where I live off of the Sunset Strip, they're totally out of their minds. They don't know what planet they're on. And so they continually harass me for years. And I know I'm being stalked by DCFS. It's the obvious. It's not a joke. It's still going on.
Mm-hmm. Have you tried to talk to upper supervisors or director of CPS?
Well, what happened is my brother went one time to that council meeting? And nothing, they give you like 5 minutes.
Oh, the city council meeting is not the place to bring up about social workers. It's a government entity.
Right.
It's a government entity, meaning that they represent the federal government. The only way you can make a complaint to them is either to the director in that county that the CPS is set up with, or go all the way to the state and make a complaint.
No, I have to complain through the state because this is ridiculous. I did what they wanted. I did the case plan. I don't have any mental defects.
What were you trying to do at the council meeting? What were you trying to do at the council meeting?
Just to show that just to show that my brother was trying to explain, no, that the social worker shouldn't be doing this. This is ridiculous. This is wrong. But they don't care.
No, the council people and the mayor do not care. The only person that may do something will be the senator or representative of your state that's in Congress. They're the ones that can make changes and policy changes, and they're the ones you should go see them. Right, because even the governor, I don't know.
There should be something on the website.
I had to go to the governor once, and it worked out in my case. It was not about CPS; it was about
where is she at again?
License. I'm sorry, what?
Where is she at again?
She's from California.
I'm here, right off the Sunset Strip. Right,
she's in LA.
You know where the whiskey is?
Oh,
I'm right there. I'm
nice.
you can walk from the whiskey.
Wow.
middle of the
Yeah,
road.
she's in the LA area, which is really that's a bad CPS there. I know exactly
Is it?
Oh, they're so nasty and they're so vicious. They've stalked me for years and they're continuing because they need to know like how I won't stop because they ruined everything that I could do in my life, but I did go back to school. I did go back get my degree back, but it was just ridiculous. They don't stop. I mean,
No,
they want
that's
to. It's real. Like people don't believe me.
well,
but
you
they
have to
continue
go.
to
You have
stop.
to go to higher
Yeah.
ups to get anything
Yeah.
resolved. Because if have you talked to the director of the LA CPS?
No, I haven't. No.
Well,
And
you
then
should go ahead and
thing is,
say you like to make an appointment to see him. Now, at first, they may say we need to see a supervisor. First, go and see the supervisor, but still insist that you talk to the CPS director. I went all the way to the top, and it was pointless because it went in one ear, went out the other ear. And in
right.
Orange County, that CPS director works out of a building that looks like the Taj Mahal of India or the Emerald City.
God.
Emerald
Really,
City
Bob?
of
It's like a
Oz.
palace, right?
Yeah. And he had so much gold around his neck, I thought he was going to fall over on his face. And
No, I know. And, yeah, because I had the Dodge Blackshot box, and she's, so what happened was like they weren't returning the kids because she removed my reunification, and I did the program, and then so when we put a writ, for what they call it, a writ. Anyway, so then they denied that, and then the only hope I had was to have my children put with my uncle. So my uncle, like, he lives out of state. He lives out in Washington. So uncle, like, he did all the foster classes and everything and became a foster parent. So then she promised to have the so they brought the ICPC down, the Interstate Compact Agreement from Washington, but the social workers hid it.
Wow.
did you ask for a copy? Did you ask for a copy?
Yeah, we're asking for a copy still, but LA County hid the ICPC because it was sent. I did talk to the Washington social worker, and she said, "Yeah, we sent it."
Well, just ask for
because there was no ICPC set.
Well, you could also go to the clerk of the courtroom and get a copy.
Okay.
They will give you. They have all the documents that have entered into court, and social workers have to enter them in. So
I'm sending you the information for this senator for her area.
I went to court, and they didn't give me my documents. It was really weird.
They're so bad about that. I've experienced that myself, and then they want to say that they tried to give them to you, but then they'll say that you were already left or something. I've experienced that myself, and there's certain court orders that they're trying to keep from me.
Your papers, they cannot give me the documents because the kid is out of the system.
That's what they told you. I wonder if that's.
It's up to the judge now to give it.
That. Because they have to have the court order saying that you're not allowed to have the documents, and you don't have no. Oh, I understand totally.
They're living with they're living separately. They don't know. My daughters lived together with this woman who was abusive, and they were racist against me, saying because I wanted to see proof if she really was an American citizen. They ganged up on us. Then my attorney, he's no longer with me because he passed away a couple years ago, and he was a great guy. And his name was Mike Randall. And not all point-of-court attorneys are bad. This guy was great.
Yeah.
He's well respected, but then he became a private attorney. So the problem what we have is basically they are so messed up and corrupt lying that they just wanted to take my kids when there was no proof of being abused.
It's crazy how they fabricate.
I took care of them all the time. I even took care of my mom who was dying. I took care of her dog. But I don't understand. This is too crazy.
And it's how they can just butt in your life and everything could be going fine, and just because they want to just because they can, to think they can. You know,
Oh yeah, you're right, Danielle, because they want to make sure to traffic more white children out of their homes now, because they already just got more white children they need, and so they need white children, they need black children, they need all the other races, but they seem to be interested now in more like European children. Because they can
and the age is also like younger ones as well. Young ones.
And the younger ones, little kids, 2 and 3.
Yes.
Handicapped, like because they're defenseless, some of them physically, mentally, so they hurt them or I don't know, make more money on them. It's crazy.
It is, and like the special needs ones, they want to put in these different like their facilities or whatever they're like that I would call like it's kind of like a prison, and it's crazy because
it is because they want to just make the kid just suffer more and more in those facilities. And then they have incompetent people watching you. Basically,
right.
I'm not discriminating against the person that was watching us, but she was mentally incompetent, even though she was disabled. But still, I requested somebody who was more alert to watch us. But then when we hired a private monitor, the judge got mad because he told the truth. and
they don't, it's like it feels like I try to put you in criminal court, and it's not.
I had a question. We had talked about, someone mentioned either this morning or last night or something about the immunity law in California. There's a new immunity law, and I have yet to find it. In fact, the new immunity law says you can sue them. It's just I don't know. There's one. Do you remember that at all? Do you remember?
You can sue them in federal court. You can sue them in federal court.
Everything's in federal, yeah.
Everything, and then by chance, if you win, it'd be great. But they have an immunity to lie.
Yeah.
So they can stand there and write all these documents, lying. You can't even.
I see where it says it.
They have an immunity.
Yeah.
And then there is a law in California.
That's like they tell you
where they have proposed that the social worker has the right of law for hearsay.
Is the immunity, is that saying like you can't, if the government protects them from lawsuits, like if they're like a law enforcement officer and they're acting their duties, the government protects them from lawsuits unless they violated your constitutional rights.
Right.
Is that the qualified immunity for California?
I wonder, is that I'm talking about?
They're protected under the law because law enforcement is not totally protected because you can sue them as a private individual.
And that's I wonder.
Police officer, but but if the social worker in the situation, they just have that immunity to lie and all these things. They never lose their job.
And it's like when you go to sue them, are they sued as a department or are they sued as the social worker? Like that's where I know in Georgia.
You sue the department and then you sue individually the social worker. My dad was an attorney, so you sue the department, but you sued it on the federal court. And then you miss all the names of the social workers. And then if
you can sue them in both the federal you can sue them both federal and state. It's just that the federal is a lot more easier to sue. State has a lot of limitations.
Right. Yeah, because in the federal one, but you still have to prove the damage, which is hard, but at the same time you can actually show in evidence how many lies they have made. And then the federal court actually weighs more on the other.
Perjury and all that stuff, false allegations, especially if it's been filed into the courts, what they say.
If you have a bankruptcy, they're looking for that kind of evidence to grant you that bankruptcy. And if you got sued by some reason again, or or whatever to the bankruptcy in the state level, something like that. The federal bankruptcy will always supersede the judgment.
It's protect. Yeah.
You know, so it's the state. The state right now, if that happened, if you sued DCFS or the federal court, and if you won, that's pretty good because it'll always supersede. And then they have to look at whatever the judgment was at the time and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's ridiculous.
You just have to be clear and precise, and to the like. You have to have your facts in check and to the like clear and convincing. You have to have your evidence that you have clear and convincing, and facts, like straight facts.
Right.
You can't just and
you have all the files to show.
Yes.
And they have other documents that you need to file in the federal court. I haven't done it because there's so much.
There is, yes. It's
time, but
yes.
If you had a class action suit, that'd even be better.
As long as everyone that's involved in the class action has the same, because it's not like we can all sue the. We have to have the same kind of case going on.
Class action, so it'd be like a bigger lawsuit.
Well, the class action, somebody brought that up in a group I was in, and they said a lobbyist from the Congress said with the class action, it's not like say each person that is part of the class action, that case has to be equivalent, like everything, it's got to be for the same thing, like each individual that's suing it's got to be for whatever, but it can't be like, that's the only downfall to a class action. I mean, there's we all deal with CPS, but
that's the main class action. You want your child back,
right?
I mean, yes, we'll get into the detail of like, yes, they're doing this and this.
I wonder if it could be class action and break it down into smaller groups of class action, like the civil, like that is true. I mean, there's so much. It's so much,
and like, you know, people look at me, why don't you take off the mask? I'm like, they took my kids. Do you want to see somebody who's wrinkled and have not kept their kids?
Right. I mean, it's people don't realize how much, I mean, that's a child we created. That's our life, you know, I mean, and just to have it stripped from us over false or somebody out of spite is not enough to even take a child. They should have way more proof than what, I mean, in a criminal court case, they have to have a lot of evidence. So why not civil?
Well, yeah, we have to have evidence. Like in OJ, remember? They had to bring all those experts.
Yes.
You know? Like, is that really his blood at the scene? Does it match? No, here it's just, we'll just take your kid because we think you're crazy. Or you're on, you know, or you don't know how to, like, organize your place, or I don't know, you gave him the wrong snack. I mean, crazy stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just nuts.
It's like criminal is so much more like deep. Like they have to be precise to the point. They have to have all their ducks in a row. Civil, totally different. Like too much room for error.
Well, in civil court, it's really interesting because we had a civil court case, two of them. These Muslims were trying to steal our property. Okay, saying it wasn't ours. And the thing is so funny because my dad made 5,000 documents of pages of this house, like from the loans to the transaction agreements, all the way down to like there was a Transamerica agreement. It was a final payment. No, that was paid. Everything that my dad did. And there was a contract saying, my dad made a contract. He didn't trust these people, the former owners. He said, well, if you break this contract, you're going to have to pay for attorney fees. And so my brother, he had to go and find all those documents.
Contract
and they finally awarded us money because they said,
contract law. Yeah.
But it really it is our house. And the second thing is, some people sued my brother saying that they don't want to pay money because my mom put a lien on these people's property, which money was owed at the time. It's ridiculous. But my brother still won. But he still had documents. But here in CPS, what's the document? The only thing is like, okay, we got medical kidnapping, right? So that's another crazy thing. Have you had that one?
Yeah. I've and it's ridiculous. It's like them going to the hospital or somebody and window shopping for what kid they want. I mean, it can be no dire emergency, and they just can take it over. That's the way because every time Bob mentions
harass me,
yeah,
because they're saying that I am not together because they screwed up.
Yeah,
they screwed the baby up big time. I mean, they did. We're gonna bring in like DCFS to like back to shop around and get our commission or something. They've been doing this since the 60s. I have a book that kind of like loosely.
It's crazy.
It's
and it's like they make their own rules. I mean, they are supposed to have a book to get. They're supposed to have stuff they go by, and they just make their own. Like,
like harass you too.
And this
horrible.
And the stuff they can make, and like that stuff that what is that? The Mal with Gypsy Blanchard, the Mal Munchins, what by proxy or whatever. They do that themselves.
Malnutrition.
Yeah, they make a kid have a diagnosis that's not true. I mean, that's
misdiagnosis.
Yeah, and but they say it, and it's not.
I can get that.
And that's a big thing going on right now in Texas. I know that Cook's Medical Center is facing that. With a
your son is like is he like physically handicapped or mentally handicapped?
He's autistic and ADHD. He's not, he's physical. He's fine. He's a trooper. Like that boy, he can run track and field.
That could be treatable autism.
Oh yeah. Well, he was growing out of it. He was actually driving a car and everything before all this. He was driving. He was more in the ADHD stage than anything, because they did say when he was younger, when he was diagnosed, that he would grow out of it, and he had shown. But then when my mom died, he regressed. He regressed.
He would probably need like special like one-on-one therapy and something physical or whatever they could do with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then
but they sent him to a behavioral health place or
touch play or something like that. Yeah.
He's because I have a disabled brother that is in my care that lives with me, and he just needs to living with someone 24/7 because his mentality, his short-term memory is gone, but he is physically disabled as well. And that's all my son just needed to he needs to live somewhere with, make sure, because like in my brother's case, what if he forgot to turn off the stove or something? Now he can cook his own food all day long, but you just have to, they sometimes.
It's hard because what they're doing is they just want to separate all the kids, and they just want to just separate them because they feel they're comfortable. But especially imagine if someone's handicapped, that's even more traumatic.
Right. Especially if they're nonverbal too. That's horrible.
Dealing with all these weird things and with these weirdos that call DCFS, and then they have to deal with being mistreated like that, and they're raised by their mother that loves them and cares for them. I think that's cruel.
When I visited my son probably about an hour before jumping on here, and for all of a sudden, this is the first time, but the video, like I'm supposed to have video of it, and he wanted to see me tonight, so that they were saying that their video wasn't working, and I'm like, that's odd, like but my video is working just fine. And so I just found that odd, that because they kept hesitating, and when they were talking, hesitating, and I'm like, but why did y'all call me from the audio side of Microsoft Teams and not the video side? Because and I've
well, because they don't want any record of what's happened on a video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
that's what, if something was to happen, they need to like shy away from that because they're criminals. They don't want proof.
Yeah. Nope.
Okay.
And that's
the more
and I know they're
tearing out of their life, it's so much easier for them. It's like, okay,
it's all about money.
There's no nothing.
And like Bob was saying earlier, caseworkers, I mean, any of them could be watching anything online at any time. I mean, so I mean, hey, I wave at them and say hi.
I had a woman for like over 2 years. She parked right across the street and watched me.
Oh wow. Do they have private investigators? in the department, Bob?
What?
Do they ever have private
There's a
investigators?
woman here. She actually is a DCFS worker. She lives in the area and she walks her dog. So basically, what she does is probably like she
Right.
probably tells somebody else to watch me, and then
Yeah. See, they're
or to complain that my garden looks weird, or I had a box in the front of the house. Like,
So where's your case at right now? Where's your case at right now?
right now, it's closed. Unfortunately, I'd like to reopen it, but people have told me no, you can't. I feel that it's so sad that I just want to see my children.
Did you appeal it?
To see each other.
Has your children been
Yeah.
formally adopted and your rights as a parent has been terminated?
Yes.
That's a good question. I would have to research that. If your rights are terminated and the children have been adopted, can you get your children back? Is what you're asking me.
Did they
Right.
so they did terminate your parental rights if they're adopted, and you don't get to see them. How many months did it go on before they did that?
Having visits though, but it's not happening. It's really weird.
Yeah, that is.
So
How long
I
did
think
your case go on for? Like,
I'm not sure.
how long did your case go on? Like, was it over an 18-month period or?
My case went on for over 3 years.
Oh wow. So they probably kept that.
I found all those documents, the 388. They didn't give me even unmonitored visits. That's how strange it was.
Wow.
Like they
So
just,
it's like they had their minds made up.
they were believing this social worker that was mentally disabled, and they didn't believe my monitor that was actually ex-policeman. And
Wow.
so it was really bad, and I just feel that like everybody should get help. They should get their rights back because this is unconstitutional.
Right.
This is ridiculous.
I
mean, this is because of Bill Clinton. He put that Adoption Permanency Act of 1997. I mean, it's just going on Title IX money, Title IV money, Title IV.
Yeah, the Title IV,
so
Title
our
4E.
And stealing our kids at
The
the same
federal
time.
funding, yeah. I know there's a there's a federal judge in Texas. It's cracking down on Texas.
Yeah, time. What about him?
Judge Janice Jack is that's a good federal judge, and she is like she's staying on Texas. I mean, they're reforming it out there big time. Like, and they're being like a lot of them are being exposed out there. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, that's good.
Did you?
I
know in Texas, it's a little different.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you give over your parental rights, or you just give temporary custody of your children?
I didn't give any of my rights. What
so
happened
they just took.
Was okay. At first, my lawyer's like, "Well, you can sign over your rights to your uncle," and I said, "Well, okay." But then they just went over it because it was the only way I thought they could like not terminate my rights. But the judge just went and terminated my rights anyway because I didn't want my rights terminated at all. I wanted to raise my kids. I wanted a normal life, but the judge, she was just doing all these weird things. And she did separate my friend's kids too. She had 2 little girls, and then she had a bigger son. So I don't know. It's really weird. The whole situation that I went through.
Did they keep the siblings separate?
I don't know if anybody. What?
Did they keep the siblings separate? Like, or were they all kept together?
So my son is in Washington with my uncle. My 2 little girls are with this woman here in out there in Santa Clarita area.
And they probably don't talk or nothing.
What?
And do they correspond with each other, the siblings? Like, do they communicate? Like, do they see each other? Do they talk? The siblings?
No, there's nothing. There's nothing. They're supposed to be seeing each other. That's the law.
Yep. And
The
my
real
son hadn't
why,
seen his sisters in over a year.
that's Section 309, and and also the relatives have, this is California law, they have preference always, and they won't, you know. But she thought
Right.
they would be comfortable, the little girls, with strangers. That's insane.
And just to think, I mean, how are when these kids ask, "Where's my mom?" What are these people telling them? I mean, they just don't realize what.
You have no idea because they brainwash. You don't have no idea. In general, you know that. But generally, they'll brainwash them, think that's not your mother.
Yeah, they have to
the alienation.
That's what they told my daughters. That's
they
not your
will
mother.
alienate your children, is what they do, and that's against the law.
Right,
Yeah.
Bob.
Right. And
Right.
and
that's not
like
your mother.
No, it's, I mean, that's
What?
It's just a person that's a standby until the parent gets their stuff straightened. But then they're like, later on down the road, they ask, "Oh, well, there's no telling what they tell them in the end." Well, I thought I was going home.
They want to keep the child because it's like because they're insecure of themselves and they need money.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's more of like it's a colonization complex, I call it.
Yeah.
You know, we got colonized, but where's the boat, right?
Yeah.
It's still at the harbor.
Yeah.
It's still there. I'm still waiting for my kids. I'm not abandoning ship, but they want us to.
Yes.
They want us to.
We're sick.
Because I know that I have a reason on this world to help everybody to know that when people look at me, like, oh, they can't take my kids. I work.
I hear everyone, like you say yours got taken, and I have 3 kids. I don't have just one, but one of mine is in foster care, and he's an adult now. But my 2 girls, right, they did get alienated from me, but I am actually in the process of going through that right now because even their guardians can't keep the terms of the guardianship order. They just alienated me altogether and thought they could alienate the courts and violate the guardianship terms. Well, my kids aren't 18.
The guardianship is only just temporary. They have to give you, they have to return the child to you.
Yeah.
And you have to work together with the guardian in the court.
And they have not did that, and they have not even updated the courts in 3 years. So, and they've been trying to keep that from me as well. 3 years. They have not. We had a court review up back in last month, and they did not know where to send the paperwork to. I said, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, and I had to update. I said, "No." I said, "I need to get this back in front of a judge ASAP," because I was there for it, but they weren't. The guardians weren't with the kids, and they were supposed to be there. And
yeah. This is the thing is they just want to not do anything because they feel that they can just get away with it.
Exactly, and that's
basic thing. I mean, they think they can just like manipulate the situation. They got the upper hand. I don't know if the social worker, when a guardianship comes to the home, I have no idea. But I know if they have guardianship, they alienate you more.
Yep. Yes. And they think that they can still, because getting returned at any time before the kid's 18. But the thing is they are still supposed to provide a personal status report annually to the courts for updated, and that is required, and that is a term of the guardianship. But now and now it's coming up to the light, and I don't know why I was not told this at the other ones, because they even told the guardians of my girls that I wasn't going to be at the review, but I'm the mother and I have every right to be there. Like,
that's the court, because you have to be at the review, because this is whether they have to decide to terminate the guardianship and return it to you.
Right. And if I'm getting visits, or if we're getting visits, or what's going on, well, no. They and then they totally sent it to an address that my guardians have never lived at. And that's why I was asking them, like, how did y'all get this address? What's going on? Why aren't my girls, it's been 2 months now. And I just emailed and called them again yesterday. So I'm staying on it.
I like to tell you something here that could add to you that, kids in foster care are 7 times more likely to be abused, including sexually, or
That is true.
psychologically damaged if they had been left at home. If they're left at home, they're abused 7 times more in foster care.
Bob, is
And
there a way I can get that
that
link?
agency, the agencies makes money when children need services and get federal money incentives. That's the bonuses I'm
Yes.
talking about. Not to
Mhm.
mention
Right.
more billable hours and more
Yes.
more QT. But that's not the whole story. That's like I'm reading these quotes.
This is why I get upset, because this is sexual abuse. Because in the back of my mind, what if they were? But they were physically abused. They were like slapped. My kids. They were dead.
And my
Well, my
son
kid
is
was hit in
that.
the back of the head when he was in foster care for not taking the
What?
communion. My young son, was hit in the back of the head for not taking communion right.
My son, he
Oh
is
my
in a
God.
place, and I mean, the horrible
Terrible.
pictures and the videos of the view, the back. Hey, yeah, I've seen. Yeah, my son, they watch him while he bathes, and on visits, there's just he's scared, and on some of them, you can tell he tells people to leave him the hell alone on a visit. And my son don't ever say that. My son comes from a loving home. Like he's not a hateful child.
You were hitting your son?
I never hit my son. No, my son would no. The place that he's at, the facility he's in Texas. He's been attacked while on a video with me, video call one time. On video visits, he has sat there and biting his nails and looking over his shoulder all the time, and you could tell he's nervous or like watching him in his back, and then all of a sudden this person or whoever would walk, because I don't see what's behind the tablet, and I could just tell, and then my son would get close to the screen to try to get closer to me, and it's like, in us, our moms, we want to hold him, and it hurts so bad. And he'll tell whoever it is to leave him the HEWL alone, and my son don't. I mean, why is he saying that? And that's what I've addressed, and I think they were just bothering him and doing weird things to him. I don't know. I can't. Exact, and that's yes, and that's why I've brought that up too, and that's not cool, because I have a lot of these visits recorded, because he's out in Texas. He don't have nobody there. That the guardian ad litem's here in Georgia. The caseworkers are here in Georgia. Nobody's in his I'm here. So I don't understand. They send him out there and there's nobody out there for him, like, except for the facility he's in. And it's not like I can go out the back door and be there to visit him on weekends. You know what I mean? Like,
they send him all the way from Georgia to Texas?
Yes.
Because he didn't have the facility that he needed in Georgia.
They said that there was no placement in Georgia for him. But they didn't contact none of my family or me. So.
Well, I don't want to cut this short, but we only have about a minute and a half left. And I really enjoy this discussion with you, Natalie. And Natalia. God, I ruined her name.
You're okay.
Natalia, I'm so glad to have you talk, because you really inspire the listeners, and myself included.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can get your children back, but it's worth it to try. But I want to thank you.
It is worth it to try and ask.
Yep.
And
all we can do.
Yeah, I found that out. That never give up and keep fighting for your
kids. Will never forget who their parents are.
I will see all you guys again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. I want to say God bless you.
Is it okay if I call back again?
Sure, you can call back every time. You can be my guest 14 times a week. Here.
You know what? If you need a guest from off of the Sunset Strip, and I made a memory garden for my children, and people stop and they ask me what's
that's awesome.
That's awesome. But what I'm telling you is that you're welcome to be my guest anytime. Mm-hmm. The range of guests, you would go through Grace at VincentWDavis.com. She's my producer. Yeah, okay. Right. You can call in. You can call in. But I want to thank you, but I do have to go. And I want to thank,
Thank you, Bob.
I want to thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
You're great. I'll see you all tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. God bless you. And good night from
God
Bob
bless
and
you all.
Good
God.
night.
Good
Good
night
night.
from
Thank
both
you.
God bless
Danu
you all.
and
Okay.
and